going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the best builds tier list in Diablo 4 Season 9. If you're here to speedrun through endgame, meld bosses in seconds, or just find a build that fits your playstyle, then I've got you covered. I'll cover the top 50 new meta builds from worst to best, so you can pick and choose which build is right for you. And before we continue, thanks to U4GM. They are a pro website that provides Diablo 4 services like cheap gold with fast delivery and pro carry runs, as well as unique and legendary items. They also have more than 17,000 comments on Trustpilot, and this website is really worth a try. So make sure to use my discount code KAID for extra 6% off. So moving over to the first category, which is the D tier, and here we will place the Minion necromancer build, which focuses on summoning and commanding an undead army to do the heavy lifting. You will raise skeleton warriors, mages and a huge golem to overwhelm enemies while you stay at a safe distance. Gameplay will revolve around maintaining your minion army, buffing them and debuffing enemies to make your summons even more effective. You'll spend most of your time managing cooldowns, positioning yourself safely, and letting your minions swarm and shred targets. Then for the next one we have Infinimist necromancer build. This is a fast-paced, aggressive setup, centered around spamming the blood mist and resetting its cooldown infinitely. You'll constantly want to use the blood mist to move through the enemies while spreading massive damage and triggering the corpse explosions. Thanks to the synergies with the skills like the corpse tendrils and the cooldown reduction, you'll almost become invulnerable. Gameplay is all about keeping your cooldown loop going, staying mobile, and tactically popping the corpses to fuel your missed uptime. Next up we have the Thorns barbarian build. Instead of dealing direct damage through the attacks, you will stack massive thorn damage so that the enemies hurt themselves whenever they strike you. Gameplay revolves around building extreme survivability with armor, life and fortify, while forcing the enemies to attack through the skills like the challenging shout and the iron skin. You will stay up close, taunting and tanking massive groups, watching them shred themselves against your defenses, which is a very reactive and tanky playstyle. And now for the last D tier build we got the Bone Spirit Necromancer, which is a very high risk, high reward burst damage dealer that is focused around unleashing powerful Bone Spirit explosions. You will invest heavily into the critical strike and resource generation to maximize the spirit's massive single target DPS. Gameplay involves building up essence quickly through the basic attacks or passive regen and then timing in for massive Bone Spirit. Managing cooldowns and positioning is key, as you're vulnerable between casts. Then for the next one we have the C category, and here we will place the Firewall Sorcerer, which is a classic range caster build that focuses on burning enemies down with relentless fire damage over time. Using Firebolt as the primary skill, you will weave together critical hits, burning effects and the mana management to steadily chip away at the large groups and bosses. Gameplay is all about keeping your distance, applying burns to as many targets as possible, and letting the damage over time mechanics do the heavy lifting. Then for the next one we got Bloodlands necromancer build, which is a mid-range aggressive summoner that pierces through the enemies with the Bloodlands projectiles, creating a deadly battlefield of consistently impaling blood magic. Gameplay is focused on stacking vulnerability, health regeneration, and overwhelming your enemies by launching multiple lancets that ricochet and persist. You will need to maintain high uptime on the Bloodlands by balancing essence generation and the cooldown management, often weaving in defensive skills like the Blood Mist for your survival. And then for the last C tier build we got the Dead Blow Barbarian. This is a high impact execution focused setup, centered around landing devastating finishing strikes with a Dead Blow. Your gameplay revolves around carefully weakening the enemies and then using the Dead Blow to kill them instantly, which when successful will reset its cooldown, allowing for a very fast brutal chain of executions. You'll combine mobility, crowd control and heavy hitting skills to then set up perfect Dead Blow opportunities. Then next up we have the B tier, and right here we will place the Werewolf Tornado Druid build that combines agility of a werewolf with the elemental fury of tornadoes for a fast hybrid playstyle. You will shapeshift into a werewolf to gain speed, attack bonuses and survivability, while unleashing constant tornado cast to shred through enemies from a distance. Gameplay involves around weaving between melee attacks and ranged magic and maintaining high uptime on the buffs like the Blood Howl and the Predatory Instincts. Next up we got Double Swing Barbarian. This is a fast and aggressive melee build that is focused on the rapid low cast strikes with the double swing. You will attack twice in quick successions, delivering relentless blows that can stun and quickly build up fury. Your gameplay emphasizes on maintaining a high tempo, constantly weaving double swing attacks, exploiting crowd control effects like the stuns or slows, and using fury efficiently to fuel up non-stop offense. Mobility and positioning are key, allowing you to stick to the enemies and keep the pressure high. Then right next to him we got the Upheaval Barbarian, which is a heavy hitting, high damage build that is focused on the powerful Upheaval skill, where you slam the ground with the immense force, dealing massive area damage. Your gameplay revolves around building up the fury, using the Upheaval to crash the large groups of enemies or bosses in one devastating blow. The playstyle is all about managing fury efficiently, while maintaining strong defensive buffs to survive while dealing huge bursts of damage. Next up we got the Landslide druid. This is a powerful earth-based build that uses the landslide to cause massive rocks to rise from the ground and smash enemies. The gameplay is all about stacking earth damage and utilizing the landslide to deal very high AoE damage while controlling the battlefield. You will focus on building up the nature and the earth synergies, often using shape-shifting to enhance mobility and survivability. Then next we're using Companion Druid build. This is a pet-focused setup that summons a variety of loyal animal companions to fight alongside you. You're mainly relying on the wolves, ravens and the bears, each providing unique buffs and support. Gameplay revolves around keeping your companions alive and enhancing their abilities through the passive skills and gear. You will often play at a distance, letting your pets tank, deal damage and provide utility, while you focus on buffing them. Then for the next B tier we got the Penetrating Shot Rogue build, which is a ranged and high damage setup centered around the Penetrating Shot, which fires an arrow that pierces through the multiple enemies, dealing significant damage to each target it hits. Gameplay is focused on positioning and maintaining distance, while firing through the large group of enemies. You'll further enhance this with critical strike modifiers, crowd control and mobility skills, to kite and outmaneuver enemies with ease. Then for the next one we have the Razor Wing Spiritborn build. This is an agile damage dealing setup that's centered around the Razor Wing skill, summoning razor sharp spirit wings to deal high base damage to the enemies. Gameplay involves around enhancing your mobility and offensive capabilities through the shape-shifting into forms like the Werewolf or the Werebear, while using the wings to slice through the multiple enemies. You'll rely on a hit and run tactic, using speed and damage to avoid getting caught, while dishing out continuous high damage attacks. Then for one of the last ones we got the Bash Barbarian build, which is a straightforward brute force melee setup that is focused on smashing enemies with a powerful single target skill. Gameplay revolves around spamming the bash to build up fury and deal massive damage with each strike. You want to pair this with a crowd control effect like the stun or knockback, by ensuring that you stay on top of the enemies while taking minimal damage. Next up we got the Severe Necromancer build. This is a versatile damage-focused setup that is focused around the Severe skill, which slices through the enemies with a sharp arc of the necrotic energy. Gameplay is all about using Severe to deal massive damage to groups of enemies and applying debuffs. The build thrives on high mobility, positioning and maximizing single target and AoE damage, making it ideal for players who like active, fast-paced playstyle with a strong burst potential. And then for the last B tier we have the Rapid Fire Rogue build. That is a fast-paced, ranged build that focuses on rapid fire, which is a skill that unleashes a barrage of arrows in a quick succession, shredding through the enemies from a distance. Gameplay revolves around maintaining a steady stream of damage while utilizing mobility and evasive skills to stay out of harm's way. You'll often position yourself carefully, maximizing the number of targets hit by the rapid fire, while using the chaps and debuffs to control the battlefield. Next we have the A tier, and for the first build we got the Flurry Rogue. This is a fast and melee focused build that is centered around the Flurry skill, which delivers a flurry of quick successive strikes in close combat. Gameplay revolves around rapidly stacking damage through the fast attacks while utilizing mobility skills to dodge incoming damage and staying on top of the enemies. You'll rely on building up combos and critical strikes to maximize the impact of each hit. Next up we got the Boulder druid. This is an earth-based build that is focused on using Boulder to summon massive rocks that crushes enemies. Our gameplay is all about controlling the battlefield by hurling these powerful boulders and dealing significant AoV damage. You will want to combine shape-shifting abilities to enhance mobility and survivability, which will often mean switching between the werebear or the were form to tank hits or deal damage up close. The build emphasizes the strong defensive capabilities while dealing heavy, slow but impactful damage from a distance. Then for the next one we got the Shred Druid, which is a fast melee focused setup that leverages the Shred skill where you rapidly claw at the enemies while in the form. Your gameplay revolves around close range combat, consistently applying pressure with a quick and high damage strikes. The Shred Druid will excel in maintaining high uptime and damage buffs, allowing for continuous aggressive attacks while staying mobile. Next up we got the Stinger Spiritborn build. This is a hybrid playstyle that is centered around the Stinger skill, which uses venoms to deal damage over time. Gameplay revolves around enhancing poison and the nature damage, while leveraging the Spiritborn abilities to boost both survivability and offensive power. You want to focus on maintaining distance, applying poison effects to enemies, and using the shape-shifting form like the Werewolf for mobility or the Werebear for tanking. Next up we got the Rain of Arrows Rogue, which is a ranged AoV focused build that is focused around unleashing a barrage of arrows in an AoV. Gameplay is all about positioning yourself to hit as many enemies as possible, while utilizing traps and other controlled abilities to keep enemies clustered. You will want to focus on building up critical strike and attack speed to maximize the damage output from each arrow rain. Next up we got the Heartseeker Rogue. This is a precision-based setup that is focused on dealing massive single target damage by using the Heartseeker, which is a skill that delivers a devastating high damage shot aimed at the enemy weak spots. Gameplay revolves around positioning to land critical hits, while maximizing the damage through the stealth, mobility and buffs. You want to focus on building critical strike chance and damage, ensuring that each shot hits with a lethal force. Then for the next A-tier build we got the Rake Spiritborn. This is made around using the Rake skill where you perform rapid slashing attacks with claws that deal significant damage to the enemies over time. Gameplay is focused on maximizing both physical and spiritual based damage, enhancing your mobility and survivability with the shape-shifting abilities like the Werewolf for agility and speed. Next up we have the Touch of Dead Spiritborn build, which is focused on unique item and a powerful melee playstyle, where you harness the Touch of the Dead skill to deal massive damage with each strike. This ability channels the power of the dead, allowing you to deal high burst damage to single targets or groups. Your gameplay is all about shape-shifting to enhance mobility and tankiness, often switching to a Werewolf or the Werebear form to deal damage or survive. You will use Spiritborn abilities to further boost your damage output and survivability, ensuring that you can continue to wreak havoc while absorbing hits. Then next we have the Firewall Sorcerer, which revolves around using a skill that creates a wall of fire, dealing massive damage over time to the enemies who pass through it or stay within. Gameplay is focused on positioning enemies near the firewall, while keeping them in place by using the crowd control spells like the Frost Nova or the Teleport to ensure that they burn in the flames. This is a very simple yet very effective setup. Next up we have the Twisting Blades Rogue build, which is a fast and high damage melee setup that is focused on a skill where you throw daggers that spin through the enemies, dealing damage and returning to you for a second hit. Gameplay is all about positioning, using twisting blades to hit multiple enemies in a row, while also taking advantage of mobility skills to stay agile and evade attacks. You can combine this with critical strike enhancement and poison, or even shadow damage, which makes each hit from the blades more devastating. And now for the last A-tier build we got the Lightning Storm Druid, which is an elemental caster that harnesses the power of the lightning storm by summoning powerful electrical storms to deal AoV damage to the enemies over time. Your gameplay revolves around maintaining strong positioning and keeping enemies within. The build is focused on managing mana, boosting lightning damage, and controlling the crowds with the other nature-based spells to complement the storm's DPS. And now finally we've come to the S tier, and for the first one we have the Ball Lightning Sorcerer build, which is a high damage projectile based setup that is focused on casting bouncing orbs of lightning that deal continuous damage to the enemies in their path. Your gameplay is all about placing them smartly to hit as many enemies as possible while avoiding direct contact. You will want to focus on enhancing lightning damage, critical strikes, and mana regeneration to keep the orbs bouncing and dealing consistent damage. Next up we have the Dance of the Night's Rogue build, which is a fast-paced AoE focused setup that is centered around a skill that rapidly throws multiple blades in all directions, dealing damage to nearby enemies. Your gameplay revolves around maintaining constant offensive pressure with a high mobility and using dash or smoke grenade to reposition and stay out of danger. You will also further enhance the damage of each thrown knife by stacking critical strike and attack speed. Then also we got the Lightning Spear Sorcerer build, which is a high intensity ranged guy that focuses on a powerful ability that hurls a spear of lightning, dealing very heavy damage to the enemies in its path. Gameplay is all about positioning and timing, as you aim to hit multiple enemies with each spear, while utilizing the synergies that increase lightning and critical damage. You will also focus on building mana regeneration and a cooldown reduction to keep your abilities flowing. Then next we have my favorite Firewall Sorcerer build, which is a classic ranged mage that revolves around launching explosive projectiles that do AoE fire damage. Gameplay is focused on positioning and timing, as you aim to hit large groups of enemies with the fireball, while enhancing your damage with critical strike and the fire damage bonuses. You will also leverage synergies to increase your fireball's explosion radius and burn damage over time by using flame shield or other defensive spells to stay out of harm's way. Then for the S tier we have the Evade Eagle Spiritborn build that combines agility with the powerful spirit-based abilities that are centered around using Evade skill for quick evasive maneuvers, while benefiting from the Eagle Spiritborn enhancements. Gameplay revolves around staying mobile and using the Eagle Spirit to boost your offensive capabilities and provide aerial advantages in the battle. You will focus on weaving through the enemies, evading damage while dealing precise strikes, or even casting the elemental spells. Next we have the Quill Volley Spiritborn build, which revolves around using a skill that launches a barrage of quills to deal very high damage to the enemies. Our gameplay is focused on positioning and maintaining distance, farming quills and relying on the Spiritborn enhancement to boost the damage and survivability. You'll use shapeshifting to stay agile, often shifting into the Werewolf for faster attacks and mobility, or perhaps the Werebear for tanking and controlling enemies. The build puts emphasis on sustained range damage, allowing you to unleash powerful quill attacks while staying protective with defensive spirit buffs. Next up we are placing the Earthquake Barbarian, which is a heavy-hitting AoE focused build that uses the Earthquake to deal massive ground-shaking damage to the enemies in a wide AoE. This gameplay is all about building up the fury and unleashing Earthquake to crash multiple enemies at once, often using leap or charge to position yourself and getting close. The build excels in high damage bursts, where you can decimate entire groups of enemies with the powerful slams, which makes it perfect for players who enjoy tanky and explosive playstyle. Next we have the Whirlwind Barbarian build, which is a fast aggressive melee setup that is focused on the Whirlwind skill, allowing you to spin around the battlefield, dealing continuous damage to all the enemies and much more. Gameplay revolves around maintaining consistent mobility and using spin to win to clear large groups of enemies while generating the fury to fuel your attacks. The build focuses on stacking physical damage, attack speed and fury generation to keep the party spinning. Then for the next S tier build we have the Blight Necromancer, which is a poison based setup that is all about releasing a cloud of toxic gas that poisons and weakens the enemies over time. Gameplay is focused on applying persistent poison damage to the enemies while managing essence and utilizing minions to support your damage output. You will want to upgrade this with the corpse explosions or other poison related abilities to deal massive damage to enemies as they remain in the Blight cloud. Next up we are placing the Ice Shard Sorcerer, which is a frost-based build that is focused on launching sharp ice projectiles that deal significant cold damage and can pierce through multiple enemies. Gameplay is all about positioning to maximize the number of enemies hit by the ice shards, while stacking cold damage and critical strike bonuses. You will want to use Frost Nova and other freeze-related abilities to control crowds, freeze enemies in place, and deal bursts of damage with the ice elements. Next up we have the Dead Trap Rogue build. This is a trap-based setup that revolves around using a skill that setups explosions that deals massive damage when triggered by the enemy. Gameplay is focused on strategic placement of traps, luring enemies into them while maintaining mobility and staying out of danger. You can upgrade this build with critical strike damage, trap damage and stealth abilities to ensure that you can hit hard when the enemies least expect it. Next in the S tier we have the Crushing Hand Spiritborn build that is focused on using a massive hand to smash enemies with devastating force. Gameplay revolves around leveraging the spiritborn ability to enhance your damage and defensive capabilities, allowing you to deal significant damage while staying resilient. You will often shapeshift into the werebear to tank damage and deal very heavy blows, or perhaps into the werewolf to quickly close the distance and strike with incredible speed. Then next we got the Shadow Step Rogue build. This is a highly mobile, stealth-focused setup that is centered around quickly teleporting behind the enemies and dealing devastating attacks. Gameplay revolves around using the Shadow Step or to engage, reposition and escape, while focusing on a high burst damage through the critical hits and a shadow-based abilities. Next in the S tier we have the Cataclysm Druid build, which is a powerful elemental setup that summons a massive storm to deal catastrophic AoE damage to the enemies across an AoE. Gameplay revolves around positioning and timing, as you aim to maximize the storm's damage potential, while keeping the enemies within its reach. You want to combine this with the shape-shifting abilities, often using Werebear for tanking or the Werewolf for increased mobility and attack speed. Then for one of the last ones we got the Blood Surge Necromancer. This is a lifesteal build that causes enemies around you to explode in a burst of blood, dealing damage while healing you. Gameplay is all about managing essence and the life effectively, using Blood Surge to clear groups of enemies while also sustaining your own health. You can also further upgrade this with the minions to absorb damage and provide additional support. Next we got the Rupture Barbarian, which is a high damage burst focused build that revolves around dealing explosive damage to the enemies after building up your fury. Gameplay focuses on using Rupture at the right moment to maximize damage output, often following that up with the fury generation ability to keep the attacks flowing. You complement this with a tanky defensive skill such as the Fortify to soak up hits while staying in the thick of a combat. Next in the S tier we got the Russian Claw Spiritborn build that is focused on charging into the enemies with a powerful claw strike, dealing significant damage while also closing the gap. Gameplay revolves around using the shape-shifting, particularly in werewolf form, to enhance your speed and offensive capabilities. You want to utilize mobility to get in and out of combat quickly, focusing on a hit-and-run tactics and applying pressure through the fast and powerful claw attacks. Then for the next one in the S tier we have quite a new and unique hybrid build, aka the Minion Barbarian, that combines traditional barbarian strength with a focus on summoning and commanding a minion. Gameplay is all about using the barbarian berserker's abilities to enhance the effectiveness of the summoned creatures, such as wolves or other primal allies. You'll rely on your minions to engage enemies while you stay in the fray, dealing damage and soaking up the hits. The build is all about creating a balance between the raw physical power and the support of a summoned minion. And now finally for the last S tier build we got the Blizzard Sorcerer. This is a cold based build that summons a powerful storm of the ice and snow to deal massive AoE damage to the enemies within its radius.